What's good, everybody? It's Kaige-O Gaming, and we finally, officially, have our first season of our Warhammer 40k Space Marines 2. And looking at the year 1 battle plan, this season was supposed to include ultra-wide support, which I know a lot of you guys were upset that they didn't have on launch, private PvE lobbies, battle barge sparring arena, and if you guys got this season pass, we get some Ultramarines cosmetic packs. So, going into our library and checking out the patch notes. So we have the Hub Sparring Arena, a new special arena on the Battle Barge available in Operations and Eternal War game mode, where players can compete in friendly PvP with the players in their squad. Now, I know I'm personally excited about this because you can have some friends in your little lobby or your battle barge, and now I can finally practice my melee combos. If you guys have been watching my PvP videos, I've maxed out now the sniper, the heavy class, and the tactical. Assault, bulwark, and vanguard I haven't played too much, which are all kind of more melee dominant classes. So now I can test out my combos and not be horrible with those classes. The ultra-wide support for PC, a lot of you guys were complaining that the launch of this game did not have it. It now has the support. And we have private mode for operation mode that gives players ability to play operations alone or just alongside with one friend without having to fill in randoms. Now, I didn't see a huge problem with that, and personally, I had a problem with matchmaking itself. When playing with a friend, we weren't getting a fill, and I feel like I had that problem more often than not. But now, for those of you who didn't want randoms or the chance of having randoms, you guys no longer have to worry about that. Added a what's new and a message of the day. So they're keeping us in the loop. I like that. I don't mind it. I mean, it should be simple to add into the game, and now we can stay up to date without having to come to patch notes or coming to the Steam page. We should be able to check that out in-game. An added option to reset custom color presets. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but even in this little example that they're showing, you would have 4 loadouts that you could preset, and I would accidentally click those all the time, and then you would have to go in and adjust every single detail of every color of every armor piece to get it what you wanted after you already filled that slot. So I feel like that's just a nice QOL, quality of life. The marking tool has been updated, improved responsiveness and comfort of social wheel. Control with a mouse. I play on our computer, so it shouldn't be a huge problem. Looks like the cats are messing with my green screen. Perfect timing, cats. Perfect timing. Disabled unnecessary objects that do not require highlighting and worked poorly with it, and several minor bug fixes. So they updated the ping system. Power Fist looks like it got a buff. Damage for fully charged attacks has been greatly increased. Now the Heavy Plasma. Obviously a gun that you are using with the heavy class if you're in PvP, or a gun that you can pick up in operations. I think it's just the heavy class that can use it. It might be the tactical as well. But it looks like they made some changes. Base ammo increased by 5. Blast damage radius increased. I feel like that's pretty huge, especially in PvP. But overheat per shoot drastically decreased from 50 to 30 for charge shots and from 20 to 15 for base shooting. So now it's going to overheat a lot less often. And base damage slightly increased by 10%. I felt like that gun was already doing pretty heavy damage, so it'll be interested to see if it comes into the meta, especially for PvP purposes. Med stims now restore contested health in addition to actual healing. That'll be nice for campaign and operations. And the aux grenade launcher ammo can now be refilled only with the ammo boxes and cannot be refilled from the infinite ammo cache, which I find is an interesting tweak. I never really used the grenade launcher on the bolt rifle, so I never really noticed those changes, or I'm not going to notice those changes. But if anybody's a fan of those guns, I don't know if you guys will like that or dislike that. It's interesting that you can refill the grenade launcher with ammo, but I guess that makes sense because you have a grenade stack and then the ammo stack. So taking it away from the infinite ammo cache, I feel like is a little bit weird. Now moving on to the campaign. Some of you guys know from watching my series, or maybe playing through yourself, and especially on veteran, the recommended difficulty, it got tough. when you were playing alone. So let's see what those changes bring. Enemy aggressiveness on veteran difficulty in campaign decreased for better single player experience. That is huge. Working on those objectives, trying to focus on the antennas or the bridge being brought down, and you're trying to focus all the gargoyles, but you're getting shot in your back by 15 people because the enemies aren't focusing the bots at all, and now the bots aren't attacking for the objectives. That was extremely frustrating. I think that's a huge change. Players' health on veteran difficulty in campaign is slightly reduced to compensate for AI aggressiveness and armor management updates. So apparently there's some armor management as well. Our health is being brought down, which, if we're not getting aggroed as much, could be okay. Could be a nice balance. Probably have to check that out for ourselves to see if that really fixed the problem or not. But now moving on to the bots, which is huge for the bots. Various inhibiting restrictions were lifted, allowing bots to be more helpful and effective, while still not beating the game for the player. Now, finding that sweet spot is a huge deal, but knowing that they're working more towards that is really great for people who want to really explore the campaign by themselves, or potentially even the operations. Bots will now help focus firing zoanthropes when the player attacks them. I never really noticed a problem with the zoanthropes. I'm probably butchering that name, but it's the big flying guys. I don't really feel like I ever struggled to bring them down too much. Maybe when we were facing all the little bugs and had to bring out the flamethrower, maybe then, but other than that, but we'll take some positive changes. Heavily ease restrictions on bots finishing off enemies instead of leaving them for the player to reduce annoyance. Now, I'll be honest, a part of me did really like that, because when I was taking a lot of damage, because we were being focused, which they changed, the bots would shoot or melee the enemies until they got into their staggered stance, which then you could go walk up and execute, which gave me time, plenty of time, to run around and get my armor back. I would just have to go chase. Sometimes it would get annoying. I'd be full health and I'd be like, why not just finish him off? But sometimes it was very helpful. So I'm not too sure about that change, but I do understand it. Bots are now allowed to help with gargoyle objectives. I feel like that's the biggest thing. That was my biggest problem with the bots, is the gargoyle objectives. Fixing the antenna, hitting the bridge, and I'm over there shooting. So all of this seems like it's heading in the right direction for all of the problems that I was having with the bots in the campaign. Fixed a bug where bots can run out of ammo and weapons without a magazine. I don't know if I ran into that problem ever. I know the bots at times would just stop randomly shooting. I don't know if that's because they ran out of ammo or if they were just kind of bugging out, but some good fixes there. I'm happy with that. Operations mode. It looks like they just kind of tweaked the max number of certain enemies, specifically like Zangors with shields, on the arena at the same time, reduced from 10 to 4. Cultist snipers from 10 to 3. Zangors from 30 to 20. So it kind of looks like they just reduced the amount of enemies that can spawn in the arena at once. I feel like more than anything that just makes it easier. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that. We'll have to see what the difficulty is like now that the update has hit. I'm sure we'll be testing out some operations today. Perfect Parry has been updated. Now restores armor for killing Minoris, which I'm assuming are the smaller guys, not only for countering their special attacks. Now that I do like, because I did notice that even though you wouldn't get the blue or red circle, and obviously the blue circle you can parry, where the red circle you have to dodge, but there are also just their little jump attacks that they would do, and you could parry and it would be an instant kill, but you wouldn't get any replenishment for that. So I like the change that they're bringing replenishment for that. Regarding block and fencing weapons, a bug has been fixed in perfect parry window for fencing weapons. Now it has 20 frames window for perfect parry and 10 frames for vulnerability at the end of the animation, instead of 30 frames as it was intended originally. Okay, so 20 frames window for perfect parry and 10 frames for vulnerability instead of the 30 frames of perfect parry. So a little change there. I'm not sure what the vulnerability necessarily means there, but it sounds like they're changing the parrying system and how that timing works. The assault class, base ground pound damage increased by 30%, I like that. I was really enjoying the assault class. I felt like once we got into the Chaos Marines or the Heretics in the operations mode and not just the Tyranids, it was a little tough to play with the assault class, so I like the damage increase there. Armor boost drops from destructible crates are now less common. Cooldown raised from 30 seconds to 60 seconds. I did kind of feel like we found armor boost often. I guess I don't mind that change as long as they're replacing it with something else. Now for PvP, improved player spawn system. It should make spawn killing more difficult, which I like. If I'm being honest with you guys, PvP, obviously the most thing that I've played in this game. I probably have close to 75 hours of PvP gameplay at this point. I would always be frustrated when our teammates would go into spawn. There is like a parameter that you can sit at where you can kind of camp the enemy spawns, but they would still have different directions to go. So Cathedral, for example, you can go up the stairs where then it branches off down to the 2 stairs, or when you spawn you can go off to the sides and go underneath, which would take you to B or the middle. For Bastion, you had the 2 sides that led into the middle, or you had the 2 sides that flanked on the far side. And then Mausoleum, you did kind of just have the 2 sides that branched out either left or right, but as long as you didn't go past those branches, everything, I felt like it was fine. It gave people who spawned options. If you guys were getting held up at a choke point on one side, just go in the other direction. So we'll have to see how that kind of works. I hope that it doesn't mean that there'll be spawn flips more often. I think spawn flips can be very frustrating. However, they are necessary. Spawn camping is not very fun for players who are the victim of that, so I definitely understand, but I felt like it was kind of balanced. Maybe I'm wrong in that. You guys can let me know your feedback on that. But I believe we have our first class debuff. Rework the Vanguard's grapnel launcher in PvP. Instead of a full stun, it will now stagger enemies and will slow him down drastically. So Vanguards can no longer stun with their grapnel. I never played Vanguard really. I know I would get frustrated when getting stunned. However, I felt like there were certain classes that could combat that. As playing heavy, I felt like Vanguards never really gave me trouble, if I'm being honest. However, playing sniper, when I would get grapneled from the Vanguard, I basically stood no chance. So we'll have to see how that works out. I hope that doesn't take Vanguards out of people's pick rate. I hope that doesn't kind of nerf his character in a way that people no longer want to play him. I kind of did feel like the classes were somewhat balanced. I felt like there was always a counter, a rock, paper, scissors type deal going on, right? And I saw somebody make that analogy and I really like it. Rock can beat paper, scissors can beat paper, rock beats, why can't I think of rock, paper, scissors? Scissors beats paper, paper beats rock, right? So there's always a class that beats one another, but there's always a counter for a class as well. So I kind of like that whole idea. We'll have to see if that really hurts you Vanguard players out there. I'm hoping it doesn't cause too much of a change. I hope it doesn't take him out of the pick rate. Now we have AI for our different enemies. So reduced ability to stun lock enemies with ranged attacks across all AI characters. Now, I take it this is going for like campaign and operations in terms of the ranged Terminids or the Chaos Warriors, Chaos Marines. Accuracy of ranged weapons is reduced when attacking from off-screen, and accuracy of ranged weapons is reduced when attacking melee engaged players. Okay. Feel like that helps the player some more in terms of getting focused by multiple enemies, especially when the swarms hit. Regarding Hormagaunts and Zangors, melee damage now deals specific amount damage instead of removing one complete armor segment per attack. I do like that because when getting swarmed by 15 Zangors and then just 2 taps, you lose all your armor. I feel like that makes a lot more sense to have more of a damage aspect rather than just a full armor gone in a single attack. The Xanthrope increase psychic scream damage sparsing time from 0.5 seconds to 2 seconds to prevent one shoot damage. So the scream attack, which has like the laser beam, right? Or is that the orb? Looks like it has an increased time charge up between attacks. Psychic Scream damage reduced from 11 to 8. Psychic Scream effective range reduced from 50 to 40 meters. Psychic Scream cast range is reduced by 10 meters. We also have the Termagant. Flesh Bore spray attack damage reduced from 1 to a half. And spray attack damage reduced from 0.3 to 0.1. Interesting. It says the spray attack damage was reduced twice. So I wonder if different stages of that attack did different damage. Tyrannid Warrior with Devour. Projectile damage reduced from 0.9 to 0.6 per projectile. Rubric Marine with Warp Flamer. Icon of Flame damage reduced from 9 to 6. Flamer Burst damage reduced from 6 to 4 per shot. And Flamer Shooting damage reduced from 6 to 4 per projectile. Health reduced by 10%. So what it sounds like is a lot of enemies are getting nerfed. Hive Tyrant, specifically, health slightly increased, resistance to explosive and melt weapons increased by 20%. Zangors with shields, HP greatly reduced, which I enjoy. Zangars breaking their shields was an absolute pain. What else do we have? Any other buffs? Because the Rubric Marine with Bolt Gun, reduced frequency of teleports. Carnifex, taunt frequency reduced, fixed a bug where his Cone of Thorns attacks wouldn't fire projectiles. Carnifex becomes faster and more aggressive. Okay, so he got somewhat of a buff. We also have customization. Fixed icon colors for the Administratum Gray, Auric Armor Gold, and Celestial Gray colors. Fixed several issues with default colors being wrong on some chapters. Vanguard Relic Right Greave part now requires 29 victories instead of 36, and added a color pattern called Greaves Pattern, allowing the player to customize bottom and top half of the leg separately. Okay, so more customization options and also fixing some issues that were there. We have some map fixes. Fixed several issues that were preventing players from progressing within some levels. I know that was a pretty big problem. So it's great that they're starting to fix that. Fixed a lot of minor collision issues. Tweaked dust storm density and duration in ballistic engine operations. That dust was insane. It was super hard to see anything. Tweaked Helldrake fire timings on the bridge in reliquary operation. I do kind of feel like it happened a little too often. So maybe we got some more time in between him shooting fire down and us being able to get into the buildings. Trials can now be accessed via Hypnomat in Armory. Okay. And now we have some bug fixes. General fixes. Fix a bug where changing loadout mid-operation will restore your health. Improve junk pat ability responsiveness. That seems pretty nice. Fix several issues in trials. I haven't really tried any trials, so I don't know what the issues were there. Fixed a bug where in some rare cases would stop working after performing a finisher. Don't think I've ever had that problem. Fixed a bug where player does not receive armor data from Hellbrute spawned from Chaos Portal. Fixed a bug that caused Vanguard's Adrenaline Rush perk description to show 1% instead of the actual 10%. Fixed announcer spam in Eternal War mode. That is nice. Sometimes them announcers would really go crazy. Fixed multiple ways of duplicating ammo in Operations mode. Fixed a bug where Grapnel Launcher would get cancelled if overlapped by small geometry. Now, seeing that the Grapnel no longer stuns, I think I like that, but I know a counter for myself when playing against Vanguards is I would hold corners, because as soon as he would do the Grapnel, you just slightly run behind the corner, and he would stun you real quick, but he wouldn't be able to come towards you because it would cut off the Grapnel. So I would still get stunned, but he wouldn't be able to get right next to me or get into melee engagement with me. So we'll see how that works with the recent nerf that the Vanguard just got. Fixed a bug where tactical perk Emperor's Vengeance did not work with Plasma Incinerator. Fixed a bug where several weapons could restore more than actual contested health. Fixed several issues that were causing a loss of saves. Fixed an unidentified voice at the end of the story that was assigned to the wrong character. Lots of minor UI fixes and improvements. Lots of minor animation fixes and improvements. And localization fixes. So it does seem that they are taking their community and our complaints into consideration. Not only did we get our promised new features in September for Season 1, looks like we got some balancing and some gameplay. We even got some nerfs and buffs in terms of PvP, operations, and campaign. They listened to our outcry for the bots, which is great. So, really happy with the direction that this game is going. Just to go back to the store page real quick, what is next? So Season 2, which we can expect by the end of 2024, and what is coming next? New PvE missions, the lethal difficulty, Neo-Volkite pistol, and a new enemy. I am hoping, and based off of this picture, I am praying that we finally get some Nurgle in this game. And then obviously Season 3, Season 4 also include new enemies. I'm hoping we get all 4 Demons of Chaos, Khorne and Slaanesh included. But based on this picture and seeing how we're getting the Dark Angels in the Season Pass, I'm hoping for Nurgle by the end of 2024. New difficulty. I've only made it through minimal and average difficulties through operations, so I don't know what the 3rd and 4th difficulties are like yet. Seems like they're bringing a 5th. I don't know if that applies to the campaign or just operations. Should be fun though. We also have a new pistol and a new weapon. So that is what we can expect by the end of 2024 and what we will be covering next time we get a major update. So, as always, I appreciate y'all for stopping by, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Until then, peace out, y'all.